Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. He hates the Boston Celtics. He hates Jason Tatum, and you can't teach that. Bada boom. Man of the people in the room, Celtics in 7, G Money Grant Mitchell. How you doing?
I'm getting a little upset, Tanner. You are using the WSN Twitter as a personal Celtics burner, and you can't do that. We got to maintain a level of decorum on the company account.
No, I don't do that. I do go after the Red Sox on there a lot. I don't really tweet in favor of the Celtics. I was actually tweeting in favor of the New York Knicks the other night a lot. It was hard to tweet in favor of the New York Knicks in Game 5 because it was belt to ass. Boston Celtics put it to the New York Knicks. Game 5, domination. Game 6, don't let us win today, Grant, because if we win today, you know what's going to happen in Game 7, right?
You're going to lose, just like
we're gonna win.
You were down 3-0 to the Miami Heat, and you went Game 7 there just to lose at home. I remember that.
Joe Mazzulla, I was listening to some Boston sports radio, and you know what he said about tonight?
You know what he said? Equivalent to a vultures on the prairie eating a lion.
Similar. He said, we're walking into the Coliseum. Madison Square Garden is the Coliseum. But all the people in there can't come down the court and get you. We just need to execute. We need to play our game. We play our game, we're going to be just fine. That's what he said.
The gladiator in that arena is 5 foot 10 inches tall, and his name is Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson. Listen, all right, Brunson's got to try not to foul this game, okay? Because that's all he did last game. And they were all fouls. So we're going to talk about that later.
How about Jaylen Brown trying to rip guys' crotch off of their bodies?
That was retaliation for getting nut tapped by Jalen Brunson early in the game.
Okay, but Jaylen Brown grabbed like 3 different crotches on 3 different instances. I've never seen it happen that much in one game.
We're gritty in Boston. Okay. Well, first of all, he doesn't have the ball. We haven't seen him have the ball that much in the series till now. Again, we're going to talk about this in a minute. So I don't want to get too fired up. But listen, we're Boston, Grant. We do what needs to be done to win the basketball game. We had one task, win Game 5. We have one task, win Game 6. And then if we get to that point, which we probably will, we have one task on Monday night, and that is to win Game 7. This series has now become the NBA Finals for the Boston Celtics. Nobody cares what happens in the Pacers series. It's ruin the Knicks season, and it starts tonight.
I agree with that. Celtics fans know that they can't win the finals, and I don't say that in a bad way. Like, your best player towards Achilles. They know they can't win it, so they truly just want to ruin the next day.
Yeah, ruin the next day. Nothing would make me happier. I'll get swept by the Pacers. I don't care. Get swept, but come in here and find a way to make history. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to lead with Caleb Williams, though. Before we do that, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash the subscribe button, because Monday is Game 7, and Tuesday is going to be electric on here when I celebrate my victory of coming back from a 3-1 deficit, and I become a 2-time NBA champion, because I was an NBA champion last year. I'm going to be an NBA champion this year. Anyways, Grant, tell the people why they need to check out WSN.com.
Yeah, so if you're into sports betting in any shape or form, obviously, if you just like sports as well, you can go there, get some news coverage and all that. But if you are into sports betting, Tanner, myself, and a team of experts, we share our favorite picks for games, player props, parlays, major markets, whatever. You're going to find it all, futures bets. And if you're actually betting on these games, well, you can go there and you can get yourself some promo codes, and you can unlock things such as bonus bets, profit boosts, and a whole bunch of other rewards. So check out WSN.com. It is the place to be during these NBA playoffs.
Caleb Williams' father, what is it, Carl Williams?
Yes.
Carl. Wild. Like, this was a hit piece on his son.
And I think it included some quotes from Caleb in there as well.
It was Caleb's quotes through his father, like him talking about how, you know, the coaches didn't watch film with him. That went directly through the words of his father. But yeah, he did go to his father and tell him that. Like, of course, like, you're going to call your dad up and be like, this place is dysfunctional. I don't think Carl was meant to go leak it to the public. Like, if I'm a Bears fan, I was pissed off, and I don't even like the Bears. Like, I just feel sorry for the fan base, because I know there's a new coaching staff in place, but your quarterback didn't want to go to the franchise. It's bigger than the coaching staff. It's the whole franchise. It's the fan base. It's the ownership. It's the stadium. It's everything. Just really frustrating.
Yeah, and we'll talk about what this means for the Bears next season, our impressions of Caleb. We'll talk about all of that. But I think the biggest thing here is when there are stories like this. And by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, this is all in a book written by Seth Wickersham. I believe this is the same guy who had that story or that book come out about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's relationship and the things that happened at the end of their time together. So there's a precedent of this guy spilling the beans on sensitive situations. And my biggest takeaway from all of it is Caleb and his dad were right. They said Chicago is the place that quarterbacks go to die. They didn't like the coaches. They wanted to be with Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. Let's look back at what happened last year. The Chicago Bears go 5-12. Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus essentially waste Caleb's first season. They wouldn't watch film with him. I know there's some people out there who saying he should be watching film on his own. And yeah, that's true. But as a rookie player and on the first pick in the draft, you're supposed to guide me. You're supposed to invest in me. They couldn't do that. And the guy like Kevin O'Connell takes Josh Dobbs, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins. It doesn't matter. You find success with everybody. And we saw that again last year. They won 14 games. So my biggest takeaway before anything else, Caleb and his dad were right.
Well, it's not hard to figure that out. I mean, Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. So I credit them for figuring that out, but everyone knew that. It's just how they went about trying to swerve the Bears in the draft. So let's just go through the article. Start with the first paragraph here. There was something noteworthy. Quarterback Caleb Williams was so concerned about being picked by the Chicago Bears in 2024 that he and his family weighed circumventing the entire NFL draft, consulting with lawyers to figure out a way around the league's collective bargaining agreement. And this is the most wild line of the article, while considering signing with the United Football League. Remember, the first thing I thought, United Football League, again, they've gotten bigger. They're on Fox. Like, you got influencers playing. But remember when like the USFL and the XFL were like merging, they had every spring league and the dude was smoking the cigarette at practice?
Yes.
Like, he wanted to go sign with that league. That's wild.
So I don't know how this works. I don't know how the CBA works. If you're coming out of college and you get drafted, this happens to baseball players. Like MLB teams will draft a player and it's like, say it's fresh out of high school. Well, they don't want to go. They want to go to college, or like they want to play football. If the Bears drafted Caleb and then he didn't go to the NFL, he went to the UFL, the XFL, the CFL, whatever. If he didn't even play football for a year, when he decided to come to the NFL, is he under contract with the Bears, or is he a free agent at that point?
I'm not sure about that, because you're not under contract when the team drafts you. They might hold your rights to play for them if you do play in the NFL, but you know that who's the defensive lineman, Shamar Stewart, like he chose to not do.
Yeah, he's holding out.
He's holding out to sign a rookie contract, which is freaking wild to me, because I thought the rookie contracts are set in stone. Like, I didn't think there was much adjustments you can make on those.
I think it just comes down to the amount of it that's guaranteed.
Yeah, but I think there's probably a max you can guarantee on a rookie deal, I feel like.
Well, I don't, because the Jaden Higgins, I think it was Jaden Higgins, the Texans second-round receiver, he was the first player in NFL history to be a second-round player who got his contract fully guaranteed. So maybe you can go all the way up, you know?
Imagine that. Like, you draft a kid and then he holds out to not sign his rookie deal. That's crazy. You messed up a lot.
And also, it's Shamar Stewart. This is the edge rusher who never had more than 1.5 sacks in a season. This is the pure potential guy, no production, and he's not signing his contract.
Yeah. So Chicago is the place where quarterbacks go to die, according to Carl Williams. Do you think Carl was paid for this information?
I'm sure he was. Yeah.
But like, what financial incentive can you get to destroy your son?
Well, so this is the thing. I don't think we don't know where Caleb and Carl are at right now, but maybe Caleb still feels this same way. You know, maybe he's not sold. So maybe he doesn't view this as destroying his son. Maybe he views this as, my son still wants to say all of these things. He's just not in a position to do it. The other side of that coin is some parents might feel guilty or almost emasculated by asking their children for money. So even though Caleb's got all this money and success going for him, you know, he's still not, in the grand scheme, he's not in a position where he's really ready to retire his parents yet. At least I don't think so. Maybe in the next 3-4 years he will be. But maybe in the meantime, Carl views this as a way to make some money for himself instead of having to, go ask your son for some money.
I would never do this to my son. Not that I have a son, but my future son. Not that they'll be playing in the NFL. But this is like, I get the stuff about the coaching staff, like, coming out. And again, we'll talk about that later in the article. But I just don't get, you make your son and yourself look like baby back, what. And I think that's a problem.
Yes. So taking what I said first, which is they were right, because obviously Eberflus, Waldron didn't work out and they got fired. They were right, but you can be right and have the optics not look good. And when we take into account everything we know about Caleb Williams, whether it was the running into the stands to cry after the Utah loss, the body language stuff, like after during the Commanders game where he's like laying on the bench with his arms up in the air, like clearly exasperated and fed up. Caleb hasn't said anything wrong. It's been more just his actions, I guess. And I don't say wrong as in illegal, just not what you want from a great leader and quarterback. Caleb hasn't done any of that stuff yet, but I guess the thing that really sticks out to me is this is just another example of him failing to show behavior that makes you comfortable saying, yes, he will be the one to lead our franchise for the next 10 years. And yeah, it didn't come from him, but he's the one who said these things to his dad, and his dad told Seth Wickersham. If Caleb had said, you are absolutely never to repeat this to anybody, then I don't think his dad would have done that.
No, I bet it was coordinated. But at the same time, too, it's like, if I'm a Bears fan and I know what he tried to do to not come here and wanted to go to division rival, like, so we get in the next part of the article, it says, I need to go to the Vikings after he met with Kevin O'Connell at the NFL Combine. His father goes, let's do it. But Caleb and Carl knew a trade to a division rival was extremely unlikely. Bears GM Ryan Poles stood firm, telling Williams, we're drafting you no matter what. And that left one option: to publicly attack the Bears and the city of Chicago, hoping it would make the situation untenable.
Let me stop you right here. That part, the Ryan Poles part, this is something I haven't heard anybody mention. It's very important to me. Ryan Poles says, we're drafting you no matter what. Does that mean, is the implication there that Caleb, Carl, both of them went to Ryan Poles and said, we don't want to be here?
Oh, 100%.
Because why else would you include that quote in the story?
100%. And that also kind of impacts Ryan Poles in a way, because it's like, you knew Caleb didn't want to be there. That last year was a generational quarterback class. And obviously nobody thought Jaden Daniels was going to be the guy he was. Nobody thought Bo Nix was going to become that player that early, right? But there were other quarterbacks that he could have taken, and Jaden Daniels would have been that quarterback.
Yeah. And then I guess the thing from there is Washington isn't really a great place for quarterbacks either. Now, Caleb's from DC, so maybe he would have played there, but really how far down the pecking order would he have gotten to until he was comfortable with the team going to play for them?
Well, I mean, if you could have Shane Waldron or Cliff Kingsbury, who are you going to take?
Well, that's just incompetence by the Bears front office, because Cliff Kingsbury was Caleb Williams' OC at USC, and they had the chance to hire him, and they didn't.
So maybe it was the Vikings. That was the team he wanted to go to, but he was okay going to Washington. But the bottom line here, Ryan Poles knew that Caleb Williams did not want to be a Bear. So if I'm a GM, and obviously you can't let the kids get their way. You can't do that. Like, you need to pick the best kid. And if you thought Caleb was the best kid, but there were a lot of red flags around Caleb coming into the draft last season, whether it was the crying in the stands, the painted nails, not saying the painted nails are a problem, I guess, but if people mark that stuff as issues, like just his behavior, how he talked, not participating at the combine, like there was a lot of Shedeur Sanders. Like, I think Shedeur Sanders was cleaner than what Caleb Williams had last year.
I think it's very different, because Caleb was never as braggadocious and selfish. He wasn't
much
as
cockier. He's a different.
Yeah, he wasn't as outward as Shedeur is. But at the same time, I think Caleb displayed some of the bad nonverbal stuff that Shedeur didn't.
Yeah. So we get to that point, and then it goes to Caleb actually got worried about doing, publicly attacking the Chicago Bears, which would make sense as a rookie. He said, he's worried about me taking bullets. Carl Williams said, I don't care. I don't agree with you. This shit, I'm more interested in making sure that he can do what he wants to do. But Caleb was concerned that if they did try and the Bears refused to trade him, it would make a tough situation worse. And in the end, Caleb told Wickersham. So he did talk in this book, actually. I wasn't ready to nuke the city. So now I didn't read that part. Maybe this was a joint interview.
Yeah, so I think it's important to remember this is a book, so it's not like he just gave these quotes last night and he went home and whipped up an article and put them out, but they still got to be somewhat recently because Caleb's talking in past tense. I was not ready to do that. I'm not prepared to do that in the present tense, and then the book comes out a year later. So like whenever Caleb gave this quote, it was after everything had happened. So he was still thinking about it. And that's that quote right there. I wasn't ready to nuke the city or whatever he said. That's the second red flag to me. The second thing that stands out, because why is your decision to play for a team, I wasn't ready to destroy the city? Why is it not like I had a great time here in my first season? I bonded with DJ Moore. I have a lot of confidence in Ben Johnson, whatever. This team invested in me, so I'm going to invest in them. Why is that not the answer? Why is the answer simply, I'm not ready for the hate and the negative PR that's going to come my way?
Well, maybe this came during the season last year. Did you ever think of that?
I think that's probably when it happened.
It takes a long time to write a book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this could have come very early. But if I'm a quarterback, and again, I'm never going to be in this situation, but now never would have been in this situation to begin with. But like, if you're a quarterback, like I would think, as bad as the coaching staff is in Chicago, like if they're bad, they're going to get fired and it could destroy your development, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. But if you want to play in a city, you want to play in New York, you want to play in Boston, you want to play in Chicago, Dallas, like there's some landmark teams that you would want to play for. Chicago is one of those teams, because if you're the guy that can put the Chicago Bears back on the map, you're in a huge market. And I would think that would be enticing to Caleb. So I'm a little surprised that he was so against it.
Well, at the same time, I do also understand, again, going back to what I said about him being right. I mean, this is a franchise that's never had a 4,000-yard passer one time in every year it's been around. And they took Mitch Trubisky second, right? They took Trubisky second, didn't work out. They take Justin Fields 11th, 10th, 11th, doesn't work out. We've seen this. We've seen quarterbacks go there and nothing happens. So I can understand him being afraid. I think the difference between a Jaden Daniels, I don't really know too much about Drake May because I haven't just heard his name, or I haven't heard the things he said as much, but Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, I feel like those are the two, obviously also the top two Rookie of the Year finishers. I feel confident saying they would have looked at it as this is a challenge, something that nobody's been able to do, but I've faced a lot of resistance. Bo Nix, think about watching Bo Nix in college 3 or 4 years ago. If someone told you he was going to be a starting caliber NFL quarterback, you would have laughed him out of the room. It took him 6 years of college. Jaden Daniels, it took him 5 years in transferring. And those guys would have been like, I've been through a lot. I'm confident in my ability, and the things I've overcome have prepared me to lead this franchise. With Caleb, it was none of that. And he was a victim of his own success from that standpoint, because he was so good that he was, number one recruit, had everything given to him. The Bears didn't even consider drafting anybody else. It was always Caleb. And he was just so good that he never had to worry about something like this. So I'm not surprised that the first time he encountered a situation like that, it really put him off.
I think the best quarterbacks too, and I think moving forward in this new era of NIL, like we're really going to see the quarterbacks that stayed in college, played a lot of football, maybe played for a bunch of different teams. Like they're going to be more successful down the road. I think Drew Aller is going to be one of the top picks in the draft this year. That's a kid who, if you told me Drew Aller last year against Notre Dame was going to be an NFL quarterback, you think you're a little crazy. But again, it's just development. It's time on the field. You look at Will Howard. Will Howard's probably be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers someday. Like that's where they're at with them. So it's also because of who they have in the room. They don't have anyone else in the room. So I think when you look at like Caleb Williams' path versus a path like Bo Nix or a path like Jaden Daniels, I'm going to bet on the guys who have been through some hard things a little bit more than Caleb.
Yeah, and just, looking around the league right now, these quarterbacks that are running everything, they weren't they're not Peyton Mannings. For every Peyton Manning, which is like the number one guy his entire life, there's a bunch of these guys. Mahomes was, everybody was shocked that the Chiefs traded up to draft him at 15. I think that was the number. And it was from Texas Tech. They went 7-5 his final season. Joe Burrow transferred when the year he won the Heisman and they had that undefeated season. At camp, he was told, we don't know that you're going to be the starter. You're going to have to go out there and compete for it. Joe Burrow really only had one really good year of college, and that was enough. Jaden Daniels, he was this skinny kid from Arizona State who transferred to LSU. I don't know if you remember, but there was the video of the Arizona State kids in the locker room, like filming him, saying, we're not going to miss you anyway. Lamar Jackson fell to the end of the first round, went to Louisville. Josh Allen went to Wyoming. So, Caleb Williams is, for all the Caleb Williams is out there, they're not actually as likely to work out as these guys that, like you said, encounter some adversity.
And they also go to bad situations too. Top guys go to worse situations, which Chicago's a bad situation. Jaden went to a better situation than we ever could have imagined, but nobody would have guessed that. Bo Nix going to Denver, that was a good situation. Great defense, great coach. Josh Allen went to the Bills, like better situation, I guess. I don't think it was probably great when he got there.
Burrow was a bad situation, but it did help when they got Jamar the next year.
Yeah, you still have Jamar, you have T. Like, you don't have a defense, but you have offensive weapons. But again, we're not talking about the Bengals being Super Bowl champions right now.
No, but I mean, they were in the Super Bowl.
They were because of how good Joe Burrow is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, final thoughts on this article. Another crazy part too, when Caleb does say he wants to go to the Bears by the end, because that was the last line, and then it's the Bears declined to comment. When he gets there, he said Shane Waldron didn't watch film with him. Matt Eberflus didn't watch film. Not surprised with that. They're just bad. But if you're an NFL offensive coordinator, like, you should eat, sleep, and breathe watching film with your quarterback. And so that also confuses me a little bit too on Shane Waldron's side.
Yeah, it seems like somebody, and granted, we don't have Shane Waldron's perspective on this, if it happened and if it did, why it happened. But when you invest in someone with the first pick in the draft and they're a quarterback and your job as an offensive coordinator, you should be looking at that as, if I have one really good season here, I'm set up for like the next 20 to 30 years of coaching. Not that you're going to be in the same job, but for the next 20 to 30 years, everyone's going to say, oh, you remember what he did here? He's a quarterback whisperer. He's proven that he can transform a franchise when you get the right guy in. Cliff Kingsbury, for example. Cliff Kingsbury, I remember before last year started, there were ESPN did rankings of the coaching staffs in the NFL. And the Commanders were 31st with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt Jr. And Cliff Kingsbury was a retread, a guy that failed up. He kept getting fired, but he kept getting promoted, never really achieved everything. So what happened? He put in an exorbitant amount of time, had a phenomenal season, and next offseason, I guarantee you he gets a head coaching job. He's going to be one of the hottest names there is.
Yeah. The Shane Waldron story is a little crazy too, because he came from that McVay tree with the Los Angeles Rams. And again, if you work under McVay, you're going to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL somewhere. Actually, Grant, fun fact, Shane Waldron recruited me at UMass.
Really?
Yep. Fun fact. It's crazy. I'm looking at his bio. Like, he was not in college long. So he was in college for 2012 to 2015, which was when I was in high school. But that was that period there. And then he went right to the NFL after. Cause like one day I was sitting there with my dad and we were like people were shitting on Shane Waldron. I'm like, Shane Waldron recruited me at UMass. He's like, I say, you remember that? He goes, yeah, I do actually. And like, but he went from, like, it was almost like he went from UMass to an offensive coordinator in my mind, because I didn't follow the steps along the way.
That's awesome. I won this is totally unrelated, but that online dynasty I did in NCAA with my buddies? I won the national championship with UMass. So I'm a part UMass fan now.
There you go.
Liam Cohen went to UMass.
Liam Cohen did go to UMass. Yeah, I guess UMass got some good football minds. Don Brown was there, right?
Yep.
As the head coach. They got there's some good football. Good football in the Northeast.
Always electric when they play Connecticut.
They did the cum ball.
Yeah.
UConn's going to win 10 games this year too, by the way.
Are you going to bet the over again?
They don't have it. They don't have it up. Like, I don't think they're going to put it up this year, because people probably stole money from them last year. By taking 4.5 wins was disrespectful for the Huskies last year.
They got 6, right?
6. No, they got 8.
Or they got 8.
They got 8. Yeah,
they got 8.
They did it with it. They had a couple games they shouldn't have won, and they had a couple games they probably, probably stretched a little bit, so it evened out. But they were definitely a 7-win team on paper. What was I going to say though? I had a funny story about that, or not funny story. I have a good feature for College Football 25 with like UMass. If you take a UMass and win a national championship with them, or College Football 26, you should be able to rebuild the stadium and like make it bigger.
I love that. Yes, that's great.
Like, I think if you take a small end program and you're winning national championships, like you should do it almost like Madden does franchise mode or like owner mode. And you can like move the team, you can build the stadium, you can do all that kind of stuff. So that would be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Yeah, I like that.
Anyways, Grant, any other thoughts on Caleb Williams before we move into the Celtics?
It doesn't really affect me. I don't think it changes a whole lot on the football field. I just want to see what Bears fans do. I want to see how they process this news and if they turn their backs on Caleb or not.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think it's going to change anything as long as he wins, but Bears fans will turn on him if he loses and this new staff loses. They're only going to give him so much time.
Yeah, I would say probably like 6 to 8 weeks. And if they're not at least 500, maybe better, then there's going to be issues.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Grant. Celtics in 7. It's coming.
So, all right, I don't know really where we want to start here. Game 5, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, Celtics dominated. Brunson was fouling. I think giving him 5 fouls in 1 quarter is still insane. I've never seen that happen to a superstar before.
They were fouls, though. They were fouls.
Like, they were. But Jaylen Brown was also grabbing crotches, and nothing was happening. But okay, the Celtics deserved to win. Like, I'm not going to say they didn't. There's just not a whole lot of analysis to give. They made all their shots. Knicks didn't play great defense. Brunson, whether they were deserved or undeserved, you can say whatever you want. He wasn't available to try to lead that 20-point fourth quarter comeback. And if you're down 20, then you deserve to lose. So I don't know if this was a case of a mental thing where the Knicks were like, whatever, they lost their best player, they're going to roll over. I don't know if they wanted to win it in front of their home crowd. The Knicks are favored by 2.5 points in game 6. I think that's about right. I think that's what the odds should be. I'll take the Knicks to win, but I know that you won't. You're going to take the Celtics.
All right. So let me break down a few things in this series. The Celtics have blown out the Knicks. The Knicks have still not blown out the Celtics. Number 1. Number 2, how many teams could lose their best player and be a 2.5-point dog on the road? They opened 1.5 on the road in the world's most famous arena. Not many. I think the Celtics.
Boston's a great team.
I think the Celtics are more equipped to beat the Knicks now than they were before. And I think now they're starting to smell a little blood. The Knicks are not good. Like, Knicks fans and everyone supporting the Knicks suddenly think this team is good. They are not good. Boston is still better. They are better without Jason Tatum. They have put themselves, they're not better without Jason Tatum, but they are still better than the Knicks without Jason Tatum. They have put themselves in a hole in this series, and it's unfortunate because we should be done right now. It should be Pacers versus Celtics for the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you disagree with that point, which a lot of Knicks fans do disagree with that, you're crazy. The Celtics had to cough up 2 20-point leads. I give the Knicks credit for making their runs and find a way to win those games, but the Celtics still went stagnant in the fourth quarter. We're talking 1 or 2 more threes in each game, then Celtics would have won those basketball games. So
okay, go ahead.
Finishing here, Graham. Finishing. The series should be over. The Celtics are better. And again, I don't know if the Celtics can win 2 games in a row. It's going to be hard to win the 3 games in a row. Obviously, they got the 1. But the Celtics are a superior team, so it sets up for the 3-1 comeback. Where usually when you take a team who's down 3-1, it's probably because the better team is up 3-1.
So what I said before we started recording was the Celtics are not better without Jason Tatum, but they are less likely to blow one of those leads that they were blowing early on. When Tatum is cooking,
do you agree they're better than the Knicks? They're still better than the Knicks without Jason Tatum.
I don't agree with that, but I think it is extremely close, maybe even 50-50. And to say that without your best player speaks to how good the team is. So yeah. I don't want it to come across as a diss. Even with Tatum there, if the game was tied in the final minutes, I would take the Knicks because of Jalen Brunson. And now obviously you don't have Tatum. That's the biggest thing. The Knicks can afford to be down 7 with 8 minutes left and still feel comfortable, because when it's those big moment situations, that's where you miss your best players. Your best players are there to get you the biggest buckets. They're not necessarily there to carry you throughout the game. They're there to close the deal. Without Tatum, I don't think the Celtics are going to fare well. The Celtics, if they want to win, in my opinion, they need to win just how they did in Game 5. Use the strength of your team to get that lead and keep it there. Don't make it come down, because let's be honest, Derek White is awesome. But if it's 3 minutes left in the game and it's Derek White going back and forth with Jalen Brunson, it's Jaylen Brown going back and forth with Jalen Brunson, you're going to take Brunson's side of things. Mm-hmm. If you say the Celtics are up by 15 going into the fourth quarter, you can confidently say, okay, they're a good team. They have to be bought in. And this is where the Tatum piece plays into it. Without Tatum there's not going to be hero ball. There's not going to be the I feel responsibility as our best player to go match their best player. So it's not going to be a one-on-one between Brunson and Tatum. You're just going to continue to play as a team, do the things that got you that 15-point lead, and you'll probably hold on. So if I'm someone who's thinking about betting on the Celtics in this game, then I'm betting the Celtics first half spread. If I am a Celtics bettor, Celtics first half money line, whatever, that's what I'm doing, because I think it needs to be a hot start. I don't think they can rally late.
They can't rally late and they can't play a close game, but the series has set up for them to blow out the Knicks in nearly every game. Like you look game 1, 20-point lead, 20-point lead late in third quarter. Game 2, 20-point lead late in third quarter. Game 3, belt to ass. Game 4, Knicks played awesome. That was a game that the Knicks played awesome. Tatum played awesome. It was back and forth. That's the one game that I could tip my cap and say, congratulations, Knicks, you were the better team tonight. Game 5, belt to ass. Like the Celtics still have the team to be going in the fourth quarter up 15 against the New York Knicks right now. It's long because the 3-point differential in the series has been wildly in favor of the Boston Celtics. And if they can make their threes, and I'm not saying Derek White's going to go be Derek White from game 3 or game 4 and 5. Like I'm not saying Luke Cornett's going to be Luke Cornett in game 5. Like that was unbelievable. Kristaps Porzingis, I think does he have AIDS?
I know
like,
people
serious
are
question.
joking. Yeah, people are joking online that that's what it is, but like there might be some validity. I don't know. He should be over this by now. It's been 3 months.
Well, and they're not releasing it to the public. They would, if it was like something that could be released to the public, they would release it to the public.
Okay, this is the thing. If he does have AIDS, they have to release that, because if he gets cut and is bleeding everywhere, then he could infect someone else.
Good point. So whatever he has, that's a rumor going around Twitter, and it's picking up validity, I think, a little bit. Like it's not just Twitter trolls. You've got nothing out of him. He needs to go back to Slovenia or Slovakia or where the hell he's from.
Latvia.
Whatever via he's from, he needs to go back to that country because he's been terrible. He looks like he can't even play basketball. We're getting nothing from Kristaps Porzingis right now, and we're still putting belt to ass, Grant. So yeah, the series sets up for Boston to win. If they can control the crowd, it sets up for them to win the series.
This is the thing, though. They deserved everything they got in Game 5. Are you confident that Derek White's going to score 34 points and Jaylen Brown's going to have 26, 12, and 8? A guy who was averaging 3 assists had 12 last game.
Your best players step up in the biggest moments. I do think Jaylen Brown is an A player, and he's getting the chance to step up. So I will back Jaylen Brown. Derek White, I don't know if he's going to do it on the road tonight. I think if we get game 7 at home, I think we're going to be able to do it. You got to steal one on the road tonight. It's not going to be easy. But the fact that they're only plus 2.5 is wild to me, in the sense of this team just lost their best player, and you're only getting them at 2.5-point underdog. Yeah,
I want to check out what the betting splits are on this, because obviously, like you said, the line did open. Line did open at 1.5, and it's up to 2.5. So let's see. At DraftKings, you're getting a ton of money. 2/3 of bets and 2/3 of money is on the Knicks. There's a little bit of sharp money at Circa, not a ton. 22% of bets, 37% of money on the Celtics. And then at FanDuel, let's see, you can get you got 70% of bets, 82% of money on the Knicks.
Public's all over the Knicks.
Yep, public's all over them. Every sports book too.
As they should be, but like you're still forgetting you're dealing with the defending champs. that still has an A caliber player in Jaylen Brown. I still think they're just as good as the Knicks without their guys. You might not get as much from Kornet tonight. I hope you get a little more from Kristaps Porzingis and it balances out. You might not get Derek White splashing threes, but also Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard were really good too. Like, you have guys that can make threes all over the floor. It's team basketball. You're not going to play hero ball down the stretch. You're not going to go 10 minutes in the fourth quarter scoring 6 points. You're going to be able to put these guys away. And obviously, like, the Celtics picked up when Cat and Jalen Brunson got into foul trouble. Like, that was a huge part of that game. The Celtics can still outshoot the Knicks. That's where I'm confident. And that's the biggest way they're going to win this game. They got to make their shots. And people have been saying that all series with Tatum, without Tatum. If the Celtics make their shots, they're going to win. The Celtics didn't make their shots late in game 1 and 2, and that's why they lost.
I would like to see without Tatum there. I would like to see the Knicks be a little more aggressive. I would like to see them extend their pickup points on the perimeter. I don't want to see Derek White taking these walk-up threes. I want to see OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges specifically pressed up more. Tatum takes a ton of threes, but Tatum is also an excellent slasher. He's excellent at getting to the rim. There aren't many people on this Celtics team who want to get to the rim if he's not there. Jaylen Brown's the biggest one, obviously. Occasionally, you're going to get some Derek Whites. Occasionally, you're going to get some from Drew Holiday. But this team just wants to sit on the perimeter. So if you're the Knicks, don't be sinking back. And they've been more, they've switched specifically with Cat a lot more than they did during the regular season anytime they matched up. But be aggressive, push up, make Derek White put the ball on the ground and blow by you to get past you. Don't give him the threes, which are what they want to get to.
I think they're set up pretty well to win tonight, Grant. Kornet, dog. His presence changes the game. Now that we know he has a pulse, like, let him go cook down low. Let him clog up that paint. Kristaps Porzingis, maybe he'll show up a little bit tonight. Jaylen Brown's a dog. Did you see the play diving into the sidelines to save that ball? That's Boston Celtics basketball right there, Grant. That's effort. And I don't see Tatum hitting the floor like that.
You're turning on Tatum already.
No, I love Jason Tatum, but I think they are forced to play as a team. The possession doesn't start with Tatum and end with Tatum now. It starts with whoever brings the ball up the floor. They made some dumb mistakes too. Don't get me wrong. They had some threes that they pulled up and took that they shouldn't have taken. Like the Peyton Pritchard, I forget who inbounded to Pritchard, but the turnover on, I think it led to the Bridges foul or whoever it was. Like, that was dumb. There's still a lot to clean up there. But if the Celtics make their 3-pointers, which they're going to be open tonight, they've been open all freaking series, they can win the game. And don't you think for the first time, the Celtics maybe like being the hunted? They like being the one that's walking into the arena expecting to lose. Like that, you can't. That's another thing that we're underestimating here. Like, they get to be the villain now.
So we talked about this maybe 2 episodes ago, and I told you that no, I didn't believe in that. And I don't want to be bagging on Tatum because I feel bad because he just got injured. But if he was healthy, I would be saying the same thing. With Tatum there, no, I don't believe that at all. Without Tatum, it's kind of similar to what I said about them. I think they're less likely to blow a 20-point lead without Tatum. Them going on the road as underdogs in an elimination game, I think they're more likely to use that as fuel without Tatum than they are with him.
I think they've won like 5 straight road elimination games too.
Oh, I don't even know when that would be. That would be a long time ago because they didn't have an elimination game last year.
Bucks, Heat, Bucks was one. Heat was one.
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
Game
Bucks,
6 in Milwaukee.
It might be the Heat again before that.
Was it Golden State?
Yeah,
they went on the road in game 5, right? They were 2.
That went 6 games. It ended in Boston. So I think, did they win game 5? They weren't up 3-1 in that series.
They were up 2-1. They lost game 4 at home.
Yeah.
They went on the road in game 5 and lost in game 6.
Yeah. Okay.
But they still, I mean, I think they've been, but Miami, they were down 3-0. So they won 2 road elimination games there.
Yeah, but I mean, they did win 3 straight and then lose game 7 at home.
I don't care though. Force game 7. If you lose game 7, you lose game 7. So what? But like, let's make the Knicks buttholes tighten up a little bit. Hey, Grant, I'll tell you what, MSG is going to be pretty damn quiet tonight if the Boston Celtics can pull off a win.
For sure.
Knicks fans are going to be, the buttholes are going to be tightening up just a little bit.
Another place where you're going to get tight butts. We ready to move on? Nuggets, Thunder?
Celtics. What's your score prediction? You Boston hater.
Score prediction.
Is it close? Knicks aren't blowing them out.
It's close. Knicks win by 6.
It's a heartbreaking Celtics loss, or it's a blowout Celtics win. Like it's a controlled Celtics win or a heartbreaking loss.
I agree. Agreed.
Or Jaylen Brown legacy game, and he outshoots Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter.
Last game was Jaylen Brown's legacy game, and it wasn't even his game. It was Derek White's game.
That's tonight's Jaylen Brown's son.
Nah.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be Celtics 110, Knicks 97.
Okay. Defensive game.
All right. There we go. Grant, Nuggets, Thunder, Game 7 coming up. Who has the edge in this series?
I just want to say, I wish that we could get this series for every series in the whole playoffs. This has been the most excited I've been for a Game 7 since the 2016 finals, which was the 3-1 year. I can't remember since I really started being able to watch basketball and understand what was actually happening, more so than just this team put the ball in the hoop. This has probably been the best series that I've seen. It's been so fun. And it's been so fun because the teams are so different. I mean, OKC is just this unbelievable team. They can play 12 guys and they don't care. They don't have a player, I think, averaging more than 38 minutes per game in this series. And you have the MVP on your team. Like that never happens. They are kind of this renaissance team where they use the mid-range so much and their constant activity, and they have this incredible defense and this young coach. And then on the other side, you've got the best player in the world with really a 5-man rotation. Like Russ has been awful. Peyton Watson has been awful. They threw Julian Strawther in there the other day, which I actually liked, and he had a good game in Game 6. But it's really just the core 5 guys. And MPJ's been awful too. You fire the head coach. You're on the road for this Game 7. And the teams are just inseparable. I know OKC had the big blowout, but it's 3-3. The series keeps going back and forth, and are you taking the best player or are you taking the best team? You know, the Thunder have been favored by a ton throughout this series. If you've been betting Nuggets money line just all 6 games and they've won these 3, well, you've gotten them for like plus 150 to plus 300, depending on if it's home or road. So you've made a bunch of profit in this series. Going into Game 7, here's what I'll say. Going into Game 7, and I will fully respect whichever team wins this. I think they're both set up for an NBA Finals run just because of, how calloused they're going to be after this. I'm going to take the Nuggets to win this. I told you back before this series began that I did like the Nuggets to win. Now, I thought that they were going to win in 6 games. I thought they were going to get it done in their home court. OKC surprised me specifically by winning Game 4 and then especially Game 5, coming back from 8 points down at the start of the fourth quarter. I thought if Denver had a real advantage, it would be fourth quarter and OKC flipped the script in those games. But you saw in Game 6, if the Nuggets can just get out to the same start that the Thunder do, and if they give themselves just a small advantage, when you get to that fourth quarter and you have Nikola Jokic and you have Jamal Murray, you're just not going to lose very many games. And there's the analysis is not that simple. There's so much that's going on in this series. But again, these teams are just so different that from an outside view, you have to boil it down to very simple concepts. Like, who do you trust in the big moments? And while Shea has been really good, Jalen Williams has not. Chet Holmgren has not. Are you going to rely on Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, players that make a great team, but they don't necessarily make great moments? And fourth quarter of a Game 7 is a great moment, and I will take Jokic and Murray.
That's what it came down to last night. I know that game was very back and forth until the Nuggets went on their run right at the end of the third quarter. Like that was where they started to separate themselves. They had edges early in the game, and Thunder fought back, and Thunder took a lead. But like the Nuggets just stay so composed. And everybody contributed 1 through 5 on the floor for them last night at every point in the game. Like it was a true team effort as well. And then it comes down to they have Nikola Jokic, they have Jamal Murray, I mean, you've had Aaron Gordon make big shots throughout the playoffs. Like, you could get more out of some dudes on the floor right now for them. But like, I do think the Thunder, we're going to see the inexperienced show. They're not there yet. Like, this is the Celtics of years past where they haven't been able to get over the hump, and they're this best team statistically, and it shows in the odds. And then they get into a game where you're in a fist fight with a team that's done it before, and that's what makes it really hard for them. So I would take 7.5 points. I don't think I would lay 7.5 in an elimination game, in a game 7, but I'll gladly take the Nuggets 7.5, and then I will gladly watch the Minnesota Timberwolves dominate them and go to the NBA Finals.
I think we talked about this before, but the most exciting possible matchup is the same Western Conference Finals. Well, it was the semifinals last year, but that same series, Nuggets, Timberwolves. That's the series we want to see.
That's going to be a great series. Whatever series we get, OKC versus Minnesota. I think Minnesota, I would want Denver. I don't think I would want OKC.
Agreed. Stylistically, OKC, I would favor OKC over Minnesota by I would say that would be done in 6 games. With the Wolves and the Nuggets, I would say it's a 7-game series, and I probably favor the Wolves in that game 7.
Yeah. But again, OKC, they've been in battles. Like, how many times have they been in battles this season? Like, the Timberwolves they had an easy series, obviously, against the Warriors, but they had to earn it against the Lakers. Like, that was a big momentum boost for them, big confidence swing. So I think this is going to be a moment where a game 7 here, I do think it's going to be one that hopefully the Nuggets get, and then the Timberwolves can find a way to beat the Nuggets, because I do have a ticket on the Timberwolves. But I just don't think OKC's ready. And I think we've talked about that throughout this entire playoff run. They're not there yet. Even though they're so good, it's going to take a lot to win this game 7.
Give me 1 second here. I want to float something by you. So, the Thunder, let me see. I want to see the Thunder's future draft picks, because obviously Sam Presti has hoarded everything. Okay, so hear me out. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 first-round picks in this draft. They have a first and 2 seconds next year. They have 3 firsts in 27. They have 2 firsts in 28. They have 2 firsts in 29, a first in 30, and a first in 31. They also have Jalen Williams. We'll put him at the top of the list. Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe. Run down the list. Giannis is available. Jalen Williams in this series, and he's an all-star, very good player, only 24 years old. He's shooting 33% from the field, 21% from 3, not doing much for his team, and he's liking TikToks and Instagrams 30 minutes before tip-off. If you finish this series and Giannis is available, and it takes 3 firsts or 4 firsts and Jalen Williams, I think you press that button as quickly as you possibly can. Because to come back with all of this depth, and you have 2 MVPs, Shea and Giannis having the defensive impact he does, Giannis being able to run the floor like these guys love to do, that I'm looking at that as like a 72-10 type of team next year.
Yeah, I think the Thunder have built a great team. They haven't built a champion, though. Like, you need more to be a champion, but they have a great team. Like, they're more focused on building the team than the championship. They got assets. They could trade everybody. They could trade picks. They could trade people. Like, they can win with this group, like the core of this group. They do need to get rid of some people, obviously, to bring in some people. But like, they've set themselves up to win in the future because of how many assets they have to give away to put a championship team on the field or championship team on the court. However, it takes away from the team. Like, you're going to put your run together. It's going to be a certain amount of years, and then it's done. Like, they're set up. They can kind of pick whenever they want to contend, and obviously they can contend with a great team. But because of what you listed off with the draft picks and the capital, they can pick when they want to contend in that stretch.
Yeah, to use the Celtics example, Gordon Hayward, Isaiah Thomas, Kyrie, great players. You know, like you said, you were always going to be a great team, but you weren't ready to be a champion until you trade for Drew Holiday, until you trade for Kristaps Porzingis, until Al Horford comes back, and until Tatum and Brown have their coming of age. Shea is going to win the MVP this year. Again, we're hitting that time, and the Thunder for so long have not been aggressive at all. They've just accumulated draft picks, accumulated young talent, but the button is right there on the desk, and you're going to have to push it eventually. And why not do it for Giannis? Like, if you're not going to do it for Giannis, then who are you going to do it for?
Well, this might be the wake-up call. If you don't get to the Western Conference Finals, you got to do something different.
Yeah.
So if they win a championship with this team, why probably don't do anything different. I don't think you need to press the button to get Giannis. You keep the group together and you keep your assets and you keep building for the future. But right now, if you don't get to the Western Conference Finals and you have a second disappointing playoff run in a row, you got to do something different.
After having the greatest point differential in NBA history.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Look at the Red Sox, Grant. They're one of 3 teams in the American League with a positive run differential, and they're way down the board. They're two games out of the wild card right now.
What, they're 20 game below 500?
Yeah, big one tonight. Big one tonight. Not as big as the one going on in MSG, but a big one tonight.
Only one game today and then no games tomorrow. Makes me sad. But we do get a game 7 on Sunday, so that's a great way to end the weekend.
Playoff scheduling's terrible, by the way.
Oh, did you see the schedule for the second round or the conference finals? The Western Conference Finals came out, and it's only one day of rest between every game.
Yeah, that's so stupid. I guess they got to rush. You got to rush because you take so much time on the front end of these playoffs to like get to where you need to go, but cut the season down a little bit. Also, too, we're gonna have back-to-back game 7s, Sunday night, Monday night. Question to wrap it up, Grant. Will you be more excited for Sunday night's game 7 or Sunday afternoon, whatever time it is, or Monday's game 7?
Yeah, Sunday. I mean, genuinely, this is probably the best series that I have seen in my adult years.
Monday's a way better storyline.
Without Tatum, it's not, because everybody knows the Celtics can't win the finals.
But who do you want to see, Boston or New York, win the series? Like, as a fan, who do you want to see win the series?
I want to see New York because they can actually win the finals. The Celtics can't win the finals.
They cannot win the finals. They cannot win the finals.
I'm not saying they will, but they have their best players. The Celtics are missing their best player. You can't win a title if you're missing
the
your
Celtics
best player.
Can get to the finals.
Doesn't matter. They can't win.
None of these teams in the East can win the finals, Grant.
The Knicks have more of a chance to win the finals than the Celtics do without Tatum.
You don't want to see New York fans get their hearts ripped out in a game 7?
I don't care about New York fans because I'm not like it. I don't interact with them. They're not. You're close to them because you're from the New England area, but I don't cross paths with them. I don't care.
You don't want to see just Times Square just lose all its lights for a night?
No.
That's sickening.
Celtics fans are assholes too. You guys deserve to be sad for a little bit.
Did you see the video at the bodega or wherever the frig they were? Like, people cheering, a bunch of trash Knicks fans cheering when Tatum went down. They're hugging each other and shit.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Bull crap. Hey, Joe's got that on tape. Joe's showing that in the locker room right now.
He probably is.
Probably, and he should.
He probably showing it to Tatum. Watch this on your rehab journey.
Anyways, that was Ride the Line. Greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. Subscribe to the show, like the show, smash that subscribe button. Visit WSN.com, which is linked down in the bio. And Grant, why don't you take us out of here?
That's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Like Tanner said, do all that great stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe button, go to WSN.com. We will catch you all on the next episode.